Thank you very much. My name is Charles Knuckles. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all here today for this fairly unique opportunity to hear from a friend and colleague of mine for the last, more than 30 years now. Professor Krishnayya was professor and chair of the Department of Philosophy and Religious Studies at a place called Andhra University on the southeastern coast of India. He retired a few years ago because in India, professors are required to retire at age 60. But since then, he has been even busier than he was previously. He is constantly in demand as a speaker and advisor to Indian institutions, not only, in India, but also around the world. For the last year, we have managed to prevail upon Professor Krishnayya to help us in setting up the BYU Study Abroad program in India. He has been extraordinarily effective in that role because for the last 40 years, he has helped a succession of foreign scholars, mainly American, develop their interest in India. In fact, I like to think of Krishnayya as something of an alchemist. An alchemist is somebody who, with the aid of something called a philosopher's stone, turns base metals into precious ones. And sometimes I feel that's exactly what Krishnayya has accomplished with me and with a host of other foreign scholars from around the world. He is a conduit, a transmuter, a maker of things into precious substances, and we have all learned over the years to be extraordinarily grateful for his efforts. Today, I'll get to what he'll talk about in a moment. You've already heard that the Kennedy Center at Brigham Young University is sponsoring his talk, so is our BYU Study Abroad program. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, here is a brief description of the Study Abroad program. Of course, I'm directing these remarks chiefly at the students in the room. This is an unabashed advertisement for the program, which I'm the director of, but Krishnayya is mainly responsible for, and we are very grateful to him. The BYU Study Abroad program in India is a language-centered and research-based study program in which students learn Telugu, spoken by over 150 million people in India, and conduct original research. It is the only language-based BYU program in India and provides students with the opportunity to conduct research across a full range of disciplines, and you can see them enumerated here. The Study Abroad program is located in the beautiful coastal town of Visakhapatnam, where Krishnayya is from, and as of today, we have both fall and winter term sessions available. We have 12 going in the fall. Admissions are now open for the winter term. So if any of you are thinking now or at the end of Krishnayya's talk, hey, it's time for me to go to India, see me. I'll be happy to sign you up. The subject of Krishnayya's talk today is Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi, the legacies of nonviolence. This is an extremely important topic, not only historically, but also for us as we imagine a future in which increasingly military means will be less effective, and we will need to consider alternatives to those, some of them already developed in India by Gandhi and then later imported to the United States and used by Martin Luther King in the development of the civil rights movement. So there is no time more appropriate than now, I think, to hear about the legacies of nonviolence from Gandhi and King, and we could hear that from no better spokesman than our good friend and colleague, Professor Krishnayya from India. So without further ado, I will turn the floor over to him, but I'll be standing right here to control the slides. So Krishnayya.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And this is a very rare privilege and opportunity for me to be here in the Brigham Young University. I'm very fortunate to be associated with this university through my friend Charles Knuckles and his wife Janice Knuckles. And I'm more fortunate to be the site director of the India Abroad program in Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh, in my country, India. That's where I am coming from, India. And I'm looking forward to do more service to the students of the Brigham Young University who would prefer to come on the India Abroad program in the semesters to come. With that, I was advised to speak today on Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. That's what normally we call him as. Mahatma is a title given to him. Mahatma is not a proper name or a name given by his parents to him. Most of you know that. He was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, that is his proper name given by his parents. And the link between India and America, in my well-considered opinion, would be through the great personalities, Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and as well as Prophet Joseph Smith. The reason I mention Prophet Joseph Smith is he was the one much prior to Gandhi and King. He practiced nonviolence, promoted peace, and he was a lone fighter for the cause of communal harmony and living in peaceful coexistence. So I'm very privileged once again to be amidst you, whom you hold in high esteem. And to understand India, Gandhi is very important, and to understand the civil rights movement, either in this country or in my country, Gandhi is extremely crucial, and Gandhi's influence on Dr. Martin Luther King is very significant. And here there are so many senior people also who are well aware of what has happened before the civil rights movements became a reality. But before that, today, to most of the young people, it looks like, could this be really true, that there was color segregation in buses, in movies, in cafeterias, and in public parks, on pavements. It all looks like completely imaginary, but this was all true. And from that situation, a huge civil rights movement was inaugurated by the African Americans. Now we call African Americans. In the days of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi, they were all called black people. But nothing to say as a prejudice against them, but it is just a name. Well, my talk is divided into 4 topics. The first topic would be about who Gandhi and his mission was. And the second topic, or section 2, would be about who was Dr. Martin Luther King and his mission. And the third would be about Dr. Martin Luther King's visit to India in the February month in 1959. And in the fourth, I would make some comparisons, and we'll try to look at the possibilities for the continuation of the legacies handed over to us by Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, coming to the first part, who was Gandhi and what was his mission? He was like anybody else, was an ordinary person, born in the northwestern part of India, into a family of a politically noted, but not extraordinarily rich. But he was definitely born into an educated family, and the people mostly influenced him and his life were his mother. Father was some kind of authoritarian, as always the fathers are. And he was very much brought up very affectionately by his mother, and he was brought up in a very religious atmosphere with strong beliefs in the tenets of Hinduism, the dominant religion in my country. Then he was educated there, and gradually he was told by his relatives and others, that is how normally it happens in my country, that he was enthused to go abroad and study law in England at that time, since India, as you know, was still a colony of the British at that time. And he wanted to go study law and become an attorney, a lawyer, and make a lucrative career of his own. So that's very natural. And then he went there. If we look at the account of his life in London, he was not very happy, but he did complete his studies there. He met very interesting people there, and he was very much attracted by honest Christians. But he made a vow before leaving India to his parents, particularly to his mother and to his uncle, who were almost like his very important, significant others in the family, that he would abstain from a few things. One is alcoholism and maybe smoking, eating non-vegetarian, and also fooling with other gender. So these are the vows that he made before going, that he would not do or commit any one of those vices. He was very strict about that, and he did continue. The reason I mention this is that they continued to be his passions throughout his life. They regulated, guarded, and they were his continual persuasions to be that, and he believed that practicing them would make him more ethically correct and strong. Then after his completion of studies in London, he came back to India, and I may tell a little story here. According to Hindu belief system, a Hindu is not supposed to cross oceans, not go cross over the black waters. If one does that, you will have to undergo a penance, a serious penance. Serious penance means ritually approved, ritually prescribed. And in some cases, if the family happened to be very orthodox, the person who transgressed that rule could also be ostracized or excommunicated from his family and his caste and community. And Gandhi, however, today we know him to be Mahatma, he did suffer such an insinuation and such a threat by his relatives that he would not be allowed to be part of his community and the caste, but he was never bothered. He did not care. So there's kind of radicalism already embedded in his character, even when he was very young. Then an opportunity came for him to go to South Africa. That was his first mission to South Africa, and that was to make a living. He was arguing a case for somebody. That's very crucial, going to South Africa. One day when he was going, traveling from his place Johannesburg to where he had to go to on a court case, he had a first-class ticket to travel. But while he was in the compartment traveling, suddenly the train conductor came and asked him to go to the ordinary compartment, because the ordinary compartments are meant for the colored people. But Gandhi had a first-class ticket, which would naturally and rightfully give him the opportunity to travel in that compartment, but the conductor or the compartment person insisted that he should get out, but which Gandhi refused, but he was thrown out of it. These facts are very well known. The reason that I am emphasizing this is, so when he was thrown out with his, he did not have even his coat, things were confiscated. When he ended up on the pavement of the railway station in Maritzburg, I believe, that was a very shameful thing for him to happen. But I'm surprised myself even now, why and how he did not undergo any color discrimination in England itself, in London itself. Perhaps he was in a different situation. Maybe South Africa was much more serious with the color segregation. So it should not have been something new for him to see and experience and baffled by the color segregation which he faced in the train itself. So in the cold night, that was like the night of the dark soul. So he had to decide, the options were how many? There are not many options. Either he has to put up with it, which is very perhaps easy, and that's what most people did. The second would be to fight, which would involve violence. Well, he can anyway go back to his country, but going back to the country again, the same situation, because it's not much different in India. He has seen all of that. So a crucial thing that happened to him at that time, that he chose to fight the color segregation and this discrimination non-violently. That was his first decision. And when that happened, it was something like a spiritual rejuvenation in him. So he got up, and then next day he was put on the train, and then his political career started there because he championed the cause of the color segregation in South Africa with the help of others, although many of them were not ready to support him because they are used to live in compliance with the conditions and the rules and the law there. But Gandhi tried his best to mobilize them and asking them to come and unite with him in this cause. By then, Gandhi became very popular in South America, and also his name was known in India also, because in India, for independence, several efforts were in progress by several people, although they all do not come from the same background and same ideology, but they are now familiar with Gandhi and his role in South Africa. So when he went back, he did not immediately jump into Indian National Congress, that is the Congress which was trying to get India's independence. He did not immediately join them. But first thing he did that was he wanted to understand what India is, which involved in taking a long journey into the length and breadth of India, which is very huge. And he walked and walked. So these marches, walking marches, marathon walking, that is what Gandhi is known after. Besides self-mortification, not eating, starving his body, is one thing that Gandhi did. The other thing is long walks, walk. So this walking has its own purpose, to meet people directly in contact with them. But gradually in course of time, that has become a big headache for him. As he became more and more popular, people were thronging to him and trying to touch his feet, trying to fall on his trying to hold him, and that has become a big menace for him. There were occasions that he prayed, begged, and desisted not to do that. But it was very difficult, because in India, when a person becomes popular, especially of a person of that stature, he will also necessarily and simultaneously attain some divinity in him. So people started seeing him as a kind of a semi-god, and they wanted to receive something from touching, because something would definitely be transferred to enhance their moral and spiritual virtues. So they have their own reason why they want to touch Gandhi. So this can be like this for a. Then what happened was, when Gandhi was not immediately in politics for 6 to 8 years, into active politics, I mean. Then when he finally decided to be in active politics, he did a very interesting thing which was well known throughout the world. That was the Salt March. The Salt March was an act against expression of disobedience to the law that is existing or operated by the British in India. So he mobilized a huge number of people and started an assault march from one place to the other place, and involving hundreds of miles of travel and journey, and that has brought him a lot of fame and a lot of importance to him. And the Salt March was very successful. This was very successful because that was the first attempt by Indians, and was the first time that the whole of the British government was dislodged, because there is nothing that they could do. The first time they faced that, we are in trouble, or the people are conscious of freedom and liberty and all of that. And then naturally there will be invitations for him from Britain, in India, as well as from London, to come and talk to him. So in course of history of Gandhi's life until independence for India in 1947, so many instances, so many protests, so many demonstrations took place. But this was not all very easy for him. Gandhi had his adversaries, his enemies, his protesters, people who disliked him, people who criticized him. There were all kinds of threats on him. But he was never angry. He never gave up. He was always very peaceful, kind, loving, understanding. And he was always up in the front if there is a crisis. He walked right into the middle of the people. That's always he wanted to do it. And interestingly, when India got independence and celebrating our independence in the midnight of August 15th of 1947, Gandhi was not present. Believe me, Gandhi was not present. He was elsewhere. He was doing something else. He was not too happy. And perhaps you know why he was not happy, because India was separated. Pakistan was separated and India was separated. And that is the kind of independence India got, and that's not the kind of independence Gandhi sought from the British. So the political conditions were different, and the Muslim League was very vociferous and strong. And Jinnah, who is considered to be the father of Pakistan, who was once a staunch supporter of Gandhi and in the National Congress and India's independence, he turned against all of this, and he wanted a separate state. And British decided Pakistan and an independent Islamic nation came into existence the same time as India got independence. So Gandhi, back to this Gandhi situation, he was very unhappy and he did not participate in the national independence celebrations. Instead, Gandhi thought that, and he planned, he thought that he could do, but he did not survive to do that. He wanted to go to Pakistan and talk to people. It's very interesting how that he thought could be possible, although, well, I believe that he thought that is possible. He wanted to go to Pakistan, meet people, and convince them to reunite once again India and Pakistan. And that was his goal, and that was what he wanted to do. He was in a very sad state. Nevertheless, every day he was busy with his usual prayers, like we had our morning prayer. Since I was talking to you about the critics and the adversaries of Gandhi, I should also mention among Hindus, and there were some kind of fundamentalists and fanatics who were for the Hindus and Hindu ideals. They were very critical of Gandhi, and they were critical, saying that Gandhi was too lenient with the Muslims and Muslim cause, and he was giving away everything, whatever they wanted. Now, I must mention two things here. Gandhi already was very powerful. He had a lot of authority, a lot of influence, and all the power he had in him was enough to convert and convince anybody if there is a crisis to his side. Whenever there was a dispute, he never overpowered, he never dominated the situation. He always wanted the warring people to decide for themselves what is best, but he never tried to argue in favor of one or the other. He could have converted back into Hinduism many Christians and many Muslims, but he never did it. Because he wanted, instead, everybody should be good in their own religion. If there is a Christian, let him be a good Christian. If there is a Muslim, let him be a good Muslim. Similarly, a Hindu should be a good Hindu. He did not believe in crisscrossing all this. So as a human being, everybody, as a moral person, spiritual person, can do a lot to make the humanity wonderful if they seriously pursue what has been taught by their prophets. It's not necessary to make this crossing of the fences. That is why he did not allow his power to interfere, even though there was possibility for him to convert the people back into Hinduism. Instead, he left them to their own decision and their own desire. That is why this was a very serious problem for his immediate comrades like Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, and several others, because Gandhi's character was completely enigmatic. He's a very enigmatic person. Nobody knew when he would call for a protest. Nobody would know when he would withdraw without any announcement. Suddenly he would announce that, no, I'm not going to do this. Or he would say that, well, I see that my soul is not ready to do it, because always he thought he is the first and the foremost in the protest. So he should have to have a strong soul, not a mighty body, not a hard body, not a big sword or a gun, but he should have that kind of soul which should lead this movement to its destination. So when he is not ready, that is one time that he would call off. And another time is that when others, the followers who volunteer to do, and if he sees them not ready or not up to it, then also he would say, no, we have to call off it. So Gandhi had his ways and his own means of calling for a protest and as well as withdrawing the protest. And he was a kind of a dictatorial and authoritarian person in his own way. But people always listened to him because he is considered to be Mahatma. Mahatma means a great soul. And how he became a Mahatma? He observed a bunch of interesting principles coming from not just his own religion into which he was born. I tell you something interesting. Many Muslim friends and Muslim preachers, as well as Christians and Christian preachers, tried to convert Gandhi, one into a Muslim person, the other into Christians. He very carefully, very willingly listened to what they have to offer, what Christianity has to offer, and what Islam has to offer. And he almost once got converted into Christianity, but for some only God only knows reasons that did not happen. I guess it was providential that it did not happen. Like my friend Jan said the other day, perhaps God wanted Gandhi to stay as a Hindu because he was our Moses. If Gandhi were not there, Hindus would not have been able to march, would not have been able to be together, would not have been able to be united to fight against the mighty British, the British where sun never sets. So that was the state of the British. So it's not easy to fight. Now the things are different. Compared to what was it like before 1940. Said no. Today we cannot talk any one nation to be strong. Even smaller countries are also very strong if they have an atomic bomb or some kind of such thing. So God gave us to us Gandhi, so who could play the role of a Moses for us. That was why perhaps we think that he did not convert himself into a Christian, but he had tremendous affect and respect for Christianity and Jesus Christ. I'll tell you one interesting thing. He loved our Hindu classic called Bhagavad Gita, which is a part of one of the epics of India. One is Ramayana, the other is Mahabharata. Bhagavad Gita, that's called as Song of the Lord. The essence of that is action for the sake of action. That is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Action for the sake of action, meaning that you are here to perform some actions, but you have no right to expect the results. The results are not in your hand, but it is your responsibility to perform only duty for the sake of duty, like German philosopher Immanuel Kant said. So he always believed in it. He carried Gita with him. He always consulted Gita whenever he was in some kind of disjunction, some kind of hesitation, or some kind of wavering mind, or whenever he is not peaceful in mind, he would take Bhagavad Gita and read, and he will come back with some kind of spirit and once again continue to do his things. Now he said, if I ever have to lose the Bhagavad Gita, that is the classical Hindu text on which I am anchoring on, if I ever have to lose it, I am not worried, he said, because I have Gospels, I have the New Testament, he said. That is the kind of faith he had in the Gospels and the New Testament. So true to what he said and believed, he did practice both the valuable, ethically and spiritually valuable things of the New Testament as well as Hinduism. His target was untouchability, number one, the Achilles heel of Hindu society. It's Gandhi always wanted, if somebody comes and say, oh, Okay, this is only becoming Gandhi. So he wanted to always pay much attention to the personal hygiene, personal health, mind health. Those are more important than other things. You should have to have a good heart, a good mind, and a clean conscience. That is very important for him. Not mass movements, not organizations, not corporate kind of things. So when India got independence in 1947, when Gandhi was distraught with the separation of India and Pakistan, when he had these plans to go, as he was going for his evening prayers one day, one of the extremist fanatic Hindus, he shot Gandhi, and Gandhi fell to the assassin's bullet 3 times. And before dying, as he always wanted, he wanted that Rama's name should be on his lips when he is dying. Rama is one of our gods, and Gandhi held in high esteem the image of Gandhi, the image of Rama. So he said Rama, Rama, and then he died. Well, after that, who would be the next Gandhi? There was no Gandhi. There was only one Gandhi. There is no real successor to Gandhi even till today. Although there were admirers of Gandhi, there are people who try to emulate and practice Gandhian principles since his death, like great leaders who are involved in redistribution of wealth and land, Vinoba Bhave, and Sarvodayas, who wanted to bring in security and happiness for people, Jai Prakash Narayan and others. But there is nobody who could really take the place of Gandhi. Now, with that, now I move to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I am sure that you are more qualified to talk or say anything about Dr. Martin Luther King than myself. Because you know that many of his life's events are celebrated in this country. There are national holidays on his name. There are several other kinds of conferences, seminars, and colloquia, etc. on his name on certain occasions connected with his success, achievement, and other things. He was a Baptist preacher. He was like Gandhi, was an ordinary person. He went to school, but he suffered color segregation even as a child, because the next door child was not allowed to play with him. They were white people. And he asked his mother why I could not play with my friend. And his mother, it was very difficult for his mother to explain. All that she could say only, it's the way here. That young boy could not understand why it should be that way. Eventually he went to college and he was graduated. His father was a preacher, but Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. never wanted to be a preacher himself. That is very interesting. That was not his goal or intention. But he ended up as a preacher after completion of his graduation in Montgomery, Alabama. I happened to have gone to Montgomery and see his place where he lived, and I have seen this bedroom where Gandhi's photo was hung, and I have seen the place where that was bombed at one time, and how he was agitated looking at Gandhi and feared. And then Dr. Martin Luther King's association with politics in this country and with the civil rights movement was accidental. He did not actually plan for that. It was destined and bestowed upon him when the Southern Christian Leaders Conference he was made as the president of that, along with others. And then the events that followed, which was with I don't know how many of you are familiar with the name of Rosa Parks. I'm sure that the elderly people definitely know. She was a seamstress in a departmental store. She was traveling in a bus. She was tired, and she sat in the bus. They were not allowed to sit, or they had to get up and give a seat if there is a white person. So she refused to give a seat for the white person, and then because as the documents and record says that she was not trying to make a protest, but she was actually tired from a long day of work. But that is, the rule doesn't care. The law doesn't care whether you are tired or not. The rule is a rule. So as per the rule, she was arrested, and that was the right time for the Afro-American organizations who are waiting for the right time to protest. So they made a bus boycott of Montgomery. That is the event following Rosa Parks rejecting a seat for a white person in the bus. And that went on for like nearly one year, close to 1 year. That's a very long period of time. And there will be political, when that was happening, there will be economic influence from that, and there will be political thing also. So then the government also had to interfere. President Kennedy was in power at that time, John F. Kennedy. The federal government interfered, and they made it a rule to make the story simple. And it's everybody has to travel, even everybody is equal, and there should not be any segregation on the basis of color. So all the rules were passed. And that was the time that Dr. Martin Luther King became very much interested in pushing this issue further. Before I say anything before that, I should say that King, when he was in Morehouse College, he accidentally happened to have known about Gandhi and his work in India. He immediately was interested in Gandhi and his ideology. He bought some important books written by Gandhi or written about Gandhi and read them, and he thought that this man and his mission should be his beacon. He should pursue Gandhi's path. In the words of his wife, Coretta King, she said, like Jesus was the religious mentor for King, Gandhi was his political mentor for Dr. Martin Luther King. So King has taken both the ideals of Jesus Christ and as well as Gandhi. So he continued with that. And then when the Montgomery bus strike was successful, and he was busy, he became very popular. He wrote the first book, Stride Towards Freedom. And like Gandhi, he had his own adversaries, critics, not the just white alone. But even among the Afro-Americans, there were many who did not like him, who did not like his method, who did not like his passive attitude, who did not like his non-cooperative methods. This civil disobedient method did not appeal to the other aggressive or other who are impatient leaders, because they wanted change as quick as possible. So he had to struggle with them, but nevertheless he was making success steadily on his path. And at some point, when after the success of the Montgomery bus strike, somebody suggested that he should go to India because he liked so much Gandhi and follows Gandhian principles. When Nehru came, Jawaharlal Nehru, our first prime minister, he wanted to meet Dr. Martin Luther King here, but he could not meet. But nevertheless, an invitation was also extended to him on behalf of the government of India. But somehow it was made possible through the Quaker Association in Delhi. With their help, and with his wife accompanied and another friend, all of them went for 1 month to India. And please remember what Dr. Martin Luther King said when he had an opportunity and an invitation was given to him to go to India. He said it would be his pilgrimage to India, that he considered as a pilgrimage because of his love and respect for Gandhi. So he came and stayed for 1 full month and toured all around India, different places. As when they landed in Bombay, and then they toured to as many people as possible. He wanted to meet all the available living important comrades of Gandhian legacy. But he already found that they are all divided. They are not like Gandhi anymore. So he noticed that there was only one Gandhi, there is no second Gandhi. So he met interesting people, and he saw interesting work being taken place in India. and he was inspired, and he believed, and he thought that nonviolence is still useful, and civil disobedience is a powerful method, and India is growing, but he has seen the abject poverty in India. Although himself coming from a poor background, he saw Indians in much more poorer condition, and he blamed the British for that, and he was so angry. The same thing happened with Gandhi also. When he protested, when somebody asked him, what right you have to ask, if you believe in non-violence and all that, the British should leave India. So Gandhi's argument was that you made our people much more poorer and poorer. You are making them bankrupt. You have taken everything from people and turning them into bones and skeletons. So you have no right to do that. So that was the reason Gandhi had to fight so severely against the British. So Martin Luther King, he toured for a while, for a year, and he met all the important people. And at the end, he was given, he was asked to give a speech about his impressions about India.
Leaders in and out of government, organizations, particularly the Gandhi Smarak Nidhi and the Quaker Center, and many homes and families have done their utmost to make our short stay both pleasant and instructive. We have learned a lot. We are not rash enough to presume that we know India, vast subcontinent with all of its people, problems, contrasts, and achievements. However, since we have been asked about our impressions, we venture one or two generalizations. First, we think that the spirit of Gandhi is much stronger today than some people believe. That is not only the direct and indirect influence of his comrades and associates, but also the organized efforts that are being made to preserve the Mahatma's letters and other writings, the pictures, monuments, the work of the Gandhi Smarak Nidhi and the movement led by the Saint Vinoba Bhave. These are but a few examples of the way Gandhiji will be permanently enshrined in the hearts of the people of India. Moreover, many governmental officials who do not follow Gandhi literally apply his spirit to domestic and international problems. Secondly, I wish to make a plea to the people and government of India. The issue of world peace is so critical that I feel compelled to offer a suggestion that came to me during the course of our conversations with Vinoba Bhave. The peace-loving peoples of the world have not yet succeeded in persuading my own country, America, and Soviet Russia to eliminate fear and disarm themselves. Unfortunately, as yet America and the Soviet Union have not shown the faith and moral courage to do this. Vinobaji has said that India or any other nation that has the faith and moral courage could disarm itself tomorrow, even unilaterally. It may be that just as India had to take the lead and show the world that national independence could be achieved non-violently, so India may have to take the lead and call for universal disarmament. And if no other nation will join her immediately, India may declare itself for disarmament unilaterally. Such an act of courage would be a great demonstration of the spirit of the Mahatma and would be the greatest stimulus to the rest of the world to do likewise. Moreover, any nation that would take such a brave step would automatically draw to itself the support of the multitudes of the earth, so that any would-be aggressor would be discouraged from risking the wrath of mankind. May I also say that since being in India, I am more convinced than ever before that the method of non-violent resistance is the most potent weapon available to oppress people in their struggle for justice, and human dignity. In a real sense, Mahatma Gandhi embodied in his life certain universal principles that are inherent in the moral structure of the universe. And these principles are as inescapable as the law of gravitation. Many years ago, when Abraham Lincoln was shot, and incidentally he was shot for the same reason that Mahatma Gandhi was shot for, namely for committing the crime of wanting to heal the wounds of a divided nation. And when he was shot, Secretary Stanton stood by the dead body of the great leader and said these words, "Now he belongs to the ages." And in a real sense, we can say the same thing about Mahatma Gandhi, and even in stronger terms. Now he belongs to the ages. And if this age is to survive, it must follow the way of love and nonviolence that he so nobly illustrated in his life. And Mahatma Gandhi may well be God's appeal to this generation, a generation drifting again to its doom. And this eternal appeal is in the form of a warning. They that live by the sword shall perish by the sword. We must come to see in the world today that what he taught and his method throughout revealed to us that there is an alternative to violence, and that if we fail to follow this, we will perish in our individual and in our collective lives. For in a day when Sputniks and explorers dash through outer space and guided ballistic missiles are carving highways of death through the stratosphere, no nation can win a war. Today we no longer have a choice between violence and nonviolence. It is either nonviolence or non-existence.
Well, this is a great speech. And another speech we know of him is "I Have a Dream," as all of you know, which he delivered in 1963. Now, he wanted India to become unilaterally free from all that is nuclear. And he wanted India to set an example. And he already knew that America was not ready, and Soviet Union, erstwhile Soviet Union, was not ready. And these are the only two powers at that time controlling the world politics. So he wanted India at this juncture, under the leadership, under the legacies of Mahatma Gandhi, a unilateral disarmament could be shown and demonstrated by Indians. But unfortunately, that did not happen. On the contrary, in 1998, India became fully nuclear. Was it Gandhian? Definitely not. But was it necessary? Well, perhaps yes. With an enemy on one side, another adversary on the other side. So India had to be careful for their existence. So it is very difficult to decide, but nevertheless, the potent weapon, the civil disobedience and non-violent method, they have a lasting value, like Dr. Martin Luther King just said, especially coming from Gandhi. And he's later, after Montgomery, he participated in many movements in Birmingham. So the Birmingham Manifesto is a classic letter which he has written. And then he participated in Albany, Georgia. And then he was also very prominent in the Selma March. And also he was very popular with such movements as to cater the poor and the needy. And then he was awarded in 1964. He was the youngest to receive the Nobel Prize. And now it is the time to mention that from local issues, he moved to the national and international issues. He moved from civil rights to human rights. His transition was excellent from there. And then he became worldwide very, very, very popular. So from the transition from civil rights to human rights. And when President Kennedy was assassinated, he told his wife that this is how I am also going to die. He had the premonition that he would be someday definitely be killed, as he expected when he was in, what is that place, Charles?
Memphis.
In Memphis, Tennessee?
Yes.
In Memphis, Tennessee, when he was there to campaign some movement on behalf of the workers. Somebody was waiting and lurking, and when he was on balcony, he was shot dead. So that was the end of Dr. Martin Luther King, like Mahatma Gandhi. So he knew that he was going to suffer that fate. So Gandhi died, Dr. Martin Luther King died, Jesus Christ died. So, and as a matter of fact, Prophet Joseph Smith was also assassinated. So all great people unfortunately have to suffer this ignoble dispersal. But this is not ignoble, but perhaps this is God's way, and there's a message from this, so that there can be many, many, many more people from that event to raise to save humanity. So what could be the legacies of Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King would be the last thing to talk about. Can we still be nonviolent? Can we still make civil disobedience as a protest? And can we be peaceful? How can we be peaceful in this world divided so much with so many problems? In India, we suffer from so many problems. In your country, perhaps only one time, or it happened maybe 2 times. But for us, it's a constant problem, the terrorism and all the divisive forces, fanaticism and all that. So how to handle with all of that? And how can we face bravely with a civil disobedient attitude and non-violent method? So can we still live like Gandhi's, or can we still live like Dr. Martin Luther King? It's a good question, but still the young people have to think about that, and they are the people to decide and make peace possible in the world. Thank you very much.
Many of you have to leave. We know that. Those of you who can stick around are welcome to do so, and Krishnayya will make himself available for questions. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks. I hope I made some sense.
Oh, yeah.